My name is Eliana, and it's been a year since I married Levi. Our second anniversary is fast approaching. Levi and I have been together since university, and our relationship has always been great. We both studied away from home, which meant we lived in a rented apartment far from our families. This gave us plenty of time to spend together, not just during school breaks but also on regular days off. We worked part-time jobs and took trips to various places. After graduation, we both landed jobs in Florida and became working professionals. 2 years into our careers, Levi proposed, and we got married. I was overjoyed, but there was one issue: my mother-in-law, Levi's mother. From the moment we first met, I sensed her strong personality. It happened when I visited his family's home after we had decided to get married. As we sat in the living room chatting, Levi's mom suddenly called out to him, "Levi, can you bring some tea and snacks?" "I'll make coffee too," Levi replied and went into the kitchen. I was left alone with her and felt a bit nervous, unsure of what to say. Then she turned to me and asked, "So, Eliana, you and Levi met in college. That means you must be just as smart as him, right?" She looked at me closely, and I felt the pressure. Still, I didn't want to back down. "Yes, that's correct," I answered, even though Levi's academic performance far outshone mine. I tried to redirect the conversation by praising him. "Well, of course," she said, "it's only natural, isn't it? You don't seem very sharp, though." Then she laughed. What was her problem? I couldn't tell if she disliked me, but her attitude was definitely condescending. Still, I remained quiet, considering she was the mother of the person I loved, and it was our first meeting. Then she added, "You two will probably break up soon." Her words shocked me, leaving me speechless. When Levi came back, he asked, "What were you talking about?" "Nothing," his mother replied casually, "just asking about your relationship." The sudden shift in her demeanor made me uneasy, and I couldn't help but wonder what I had done wrong to make her act that way. From then on, my mother-in-law didn't make any more harsh comments in front of Levi but kept saying that we would break up eventually. As our wedding day approached, I couldn't take the discomfort anymore, so I decided to tell Levi the truth. "Levi, I've been holding this in, but your mother has been telling me to break up with you since the very first time we met," I admitted. Levi looked shocked. "That can't be true, my mom would never say that," he replied, but when he saw me crying, he understood it was real. "I'm sorry for not noticing, I'll talk to her about this," he promised. The next day, Levi did just that. He called his mother and told her, "Don't ever say anything like that to Eliana again. My intention to marry her hasn't changed." After that, the remarks stopped, and we had a peaceful wedding surrounded by well-wishers. However, once we were married, we started avoiding visits to my in-laws as much as possible. Of course, there were family events we had to attend, but we tried to go only when necessary. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law began making snide remarks again, even when Levi was around. "How can you not do such simple things? Do you really think you're ready for marriage and starting a family?" she would say. She often demanded that I help with housework, but when I asked her what to do, she ignored me. If I attempted to help, she would snap, "I didn't ask you to do that, figure it out." Every time she glared at me, I felt like crying, but I kept my composure for Levi's sake. Whenever she raised her voice, Levi would defend me. "Mom, cut it out. If you keep acting like this, we're leaving." His defense always made her quiet down, and that's how I managed to endure. Levi would often say, "You don't have to force yourself to go to my parents' house." But I wanted to make an effort to get along with my mother-in-law. I hoped that one day she would accept me, and for Levi's sake, I didn't want to make waves. I needed to prove myself as a daughter-in-law and build a better relationship, even if it was challenging. During our New Year's visit to my in-laws, Levi once again stood up for me, and that made me feel less worried about his mother. After we returned home, Levi apologized again. "I'm sorry, Eliana, for my mom's behavior." "It's okay, thank you for always standing up for me, Levi," I said gratefully. Levi replied, "I'm going to take a bath." Afterward, we discussed our work schedules for the new year. He mentioned he might have more business trips coming up. Since he had traveled occasionally for work before, I didn't think much of it and simply said, "I see, it'll be tough, but you'll manage." But a few days later, he said, "The business trip's been scheduled. It's next weekend." This came as a surprise since the trip had been arranged so suddenly. Levi explained that it was for a crucial deal, and I admired how dedicated he was to his job. I was also busy with my own work, so I didn't mind him being away. In fact, His commitment inspired me to keep pushing forward with my own career. I understand, I told him, but don't push yourself too hard. Thanks, he replied and went to the bathroom. As I picked up his shirt that had been left on the floor, I couldn't shake a strange feeling. I noticed something strange. There was a faint trace of lipstick on the chest area. My husband had been wearing the shirt, and in that moment, an uncomfortable feeling washed over me. I quickly threw it into the washing machine, trying to convince myself there was no way Levi would do something like that. Despite my efforts to push the thought away, I couldn't shake the feeling. I went back to the living room, trying to ignore the growing unease inside me. Then, almost as if on cue, his phone buzzed. It was sitting on the sofa, and despite knowing it was wrong, I couldn't resist checking the screen. What I saw was unsettling. It could have been a work call, but my mind kept racing toward the worst possibility, an affair. With that thought haunting me, I gathered the courage to answer. "Hello?" I said. "Oh," came the voice of a young woman before the call abruptly ended. If it had been a colleague, they wouldn't have hung up so suddenly. I felt something was off, and without hesitation, I started searching through his phone. I found numerous messages between him and someone, and their conversations made it clear they were more than friends. It seemed they were planning a trip together next weekend. When Levi later mentioned his business trip, it became clear this wasn't a business trip. It was undoubtedly an affair. Surprisingly, I didn't feel anger or sadness, just an eerie calm as I copied the evidence, his conversations, and photos from his phone onto mine. I waited for him to finish his bath. I didn't cry or lash out. I just kept thinking about how things had come to this point, my mind swirling with thoughts of betrayal and confusion. When Levi came out of the bath, he acted normal. "That was a good bath," he said, completely unaware of what I knew. I asked him, "Where are you going on your business trip next weekend?" He didn't seem nervous at all, answering casually, "I'm going to LA, I'll bring you a souvenir." In that moment, it hit me, was this the kind of person who could lie so easily? I had had enough. "Your business trip to LA is a lie, isn't it?" I said, my voice steady. "It was never about business, was it? She's just a young girl. You lied about the business trip and are going on vacation instead." Levi's response surprised me. "Did you look at my phone without permission?" Instead of defending his actions, he lashed out at me. I stayed calm, explaining, "I answered the call because it seemed urgent. I thought it was from work." But when a woman answered and hung up, it felt suspicious. He tried to turn the blame back on me. "It's terrible to look at someone's things without permission." That's when I realized I had lost all hope. He wasn't denying the affair, he was defending his actions and blaming me. That was the final straw. "I'm done, let's divorce," I said, my voice resolute. Levi didn't say anything. "Why are you silent? You cheated, didn't you?" "Everything was fine until I found out." "Do you really think I'm okay with this?" I pressed him. "Fine, we'll get a divorce. I'll do it for you," he said, his tone cold. In that moment, a deep, indescribable pain gripped my chest. It wasn't physical, but it hurt more than anything I'd ever felt. I fought back tears as I turned to walk away. But then Levi stopped me. "My mom's coming over tomorrow," he said. "What? Why?" "Your mother has nothing to do with this," I replied, confused. He walked past me, indifferent. "That's how it is," he muttered. Tears of anger and frustration began to flow. The pain of betrayal, mixed with rage and sadness, overwhelmed me. I didn't know what to do anymore. The next day, my mother-in-law arrived. I ignored her and sat in silence. "Eliana, you know about Bella, don't you?" she asked with a smirk. "Whatever, you know everything, don't you?" I snapped back. "How do you know about Bella?" I asked, demanding an answer. With a calm, unfazed expression, my mother-in-law revealed something I never expected. "I introduced Bella to Levi," she said matter-of-factly. I was stunned. "What?" Everything seemed to collapse around me. She continued, "Bella is a good girl from my yoga class. I don't need a daughter-in-law who's of no use." I glanced at my husband, but he didn't even look at me. He showed no concern. All of my anger bubbled up, and I said coldly, "I'm taking everything I bought with me." My mother-in-law laughed and responded, "I don't need your dirty, used things." I took a deep breath and said to both of them, "I see, well then, you can leave now." "What?" My mother-in-law's eyes widened in shock. I replied calmly, "All the furniture, the appliances, and this house, everything is under my name." My mother-in-law's disbelief was evident. You're lying. Levi hadn't contributed anything, this was impossible. But then my husband spoke up. Mom, it's true. This house and all the furniture were bought by Eliana's parents. She was in complete shock. No way, are you really going to give up such a nice house? She said, horrified. We don't have a choice, Levi muttered. Help me pack our things, we're leaving, he said, resigned. Reluctantly, my mother-in-law helped him gather their things. Please leave quickly, I'll call the police, I told them firmly. The two of them hurriedly packed their things and left. It turned out that Bella, the woman my husband had been seeing, had no idea he was married. She came to me to apologize, ending the relationship with my ex-husband and blocking his calls. When he had nowhere else to turn, he returned to his parents' house. The rumors about what had happened spread quickly in the neighborhood, and my ex-husband, now ashamed, could hardly leave the house. Meanwhile, I finally took the break I needed, going on a peaceful vacation with my parents. They were worried about me, but I had completely moved on. While I'm done with marriage, I still believe in the importance of family. Going forward, I want to focus on relationships with people who truly value me.